Three, two, one. Hello and welcome to episode 60 of Ruse Radio. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I do not have a guest on here. It's just your boy, and I wanted to go over something that I've been thinking deeply about, intimately about. It is a big part of me at the moment, and I really wanted to share this with you guys. And I kind of just wanted to talk it out and just air these thoughts out, publicize them, so that way it is in the air, right? What do they call that? They call that manifesting. We are manifesting today, folks. So I'm going to get on the microphone, and I'm going to tell you my 7 reasons why I need to move to Chicago. As you can see, if you're watching visually, I got my Chicago hat on. Your boy loves to rep the chai, the place, the chai tea, the Chicago. Why does he like to do that? Because I love Chicago. All right, the first time I ever went there, I fell in love with that city. I believe in energy. I believe in something being in the air. And I feel like when I'm in a city like that, it's almost as if there's some type of aura, some type of energy in the air that just bleeds into my soul and speaks to me and tells me there's so much more out there than me. There's so much for me to go find and for me to learn and to begin to understand. And I just don't get that sense here at home. So we're going to go for reason number 1. We're just going to go right into it. Reason number 1 is a change of pace. When I'm here inside of Flint, that's where I'm at right now, it's Flint, I feel like there's just not enough movement, if that makes any sense at all. It's as if there's just not enough going on for me. And as a creative person, as someone who absolutely loves to feed off of other people's energy and translate that into my own, I feel as if there's not enough of me to feed off of, or there's not enough for me to feed off of, rather. It's just not there. It's sad to me because I love the area that I'm in. I love the people that I'm around. It's not as if I'm not grateful for my surroundings. It's simply that I see that when you get more input, your output gets better. And I'm just not getting enough input. I go to the city and I just feel it. I can feel it. It's pushing me in that direction. It's telling me, go do stuff. And that doesn't happen at home. You know how easy it is for me to be complacent here? That would be impossible in an environment like that. Just impossible. I would feel like I'm literally rotting inside of a hole. Here, you know how easy it is for me to just be like, you know what? I'm not going outside today. I'm just going to sit inside my house. I don't want to see another human's face. And then I just allow myself to do that. I allow myself to do it. And I heard Steve-O say once, he put it really well. He said that if you leave an apple in the fridge for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you just don't pay attention to it, it's going to rot. You can't leave it in the fridge. It's got to come out of there. And I think that people are the same way. I think that if we're left inside of wherever we feel as if we want to stay for too long, we begin to get worse. We begin to lose that edge. And, I can see the writing on the wall. And it's like, there's no reason for me to allow myself to sit inside of this box. But it's too easy in my current environment. And so I feel as if a change of pace, a change of environment would create a necessity for that. I also think that in an environment like that, it becomes much harder to allow anxiety to deter you from doing certain things. Like somewhere like here, it's not like there's a million people around. It's not like there's a whole bunch going on. And so if I go outside and I want to just, take my dog for a walk, that's not even a good example. Let's say I'm going to go to the grocery store, but I'm not really feeling like seeing any people today. Again, I can just choose not to go and then I won't do it. Whereas somewhere like that, you deal with people all day long, every day. You deal with people all the time. So when it comes to like minor tasks, like going to the grocery store, the people are a side note to that. They don't matter. Like they're not even part of the equation. But for some reason, in an area with less people, that builds up in my brain. And I think I just need to expose myself to it more. And, you don't really hear much about people being super socially anxious inside of a big city. Because why are you there? If you're super socially anxious and you don't want to interact with people, what are you doing there? You're crazy. So I think I would murder that part of me. And that is part of that change of pace. Reason number 2. There is always something to discover. Now, this is one thing that I fell in love with the first time I ever went to Chicago. You will never, ever reach the bottom of that barrel. Ever. Even if you live there, even if you spend every single day as a connoisseur of all things Chicago, you will never see it all. Just like New York. There's so much that the city has to offer that it becomes this beautiful playground for you to just continue to find new toys. And for me, I need that type of titillation. I need something to stimulate me in that way. I can see it inside of myself. There's just something so nice about always having more to find. And that goes for people, that goes for restaurants, that goes for museums, libraries, parks, and the list is endless. There's always more. I remember the last time I was in Chicago, I was walking around Andersonville, and I just happened to find, am I getting this right? You know what? No, it wasn't Andersonville. It was Old Town. And I was just walking. I happened to find this spice shop. They specialize in spices. All kinds of spices I ain't ever seen before. And that's all they sold there. You would never see something like that in Flint, Michigan. I'm just telling you, you wouldn't see it. You wouldn't see that in a lot of places. That's only possible in a big city, in my opinion, to have a physical spice shop. And that was the coolest thing in the world to me, because it's something that I would not have even imagined. And it just happened upon me. And one of my favorite things to do while I'm in the city is to just go for a walk and see what I discover. Maybe I'll even go to a new neighborhood that I haven't been to yet. See what's there. See what they have to offer. And every single one is different. And every single one has its own piece of culture, its own little things that they identify with. And to me, that is awesome. That's awesome. It speaks to what's so cool about history, what's so cool about identity, what's so cool about us as individuals, and why we can all distinguish ourselves from one another. You find that by just going from one neighborhood to another inside of a place like that. And to me, that is inspiring. It makes me want to represent what I am more, because I can see all of these other beautiful individual things spiraling out into their own little universes right in front of my eyes. I think that's awesome. And it means a lot to me. It's inspirational. You see, I love it. 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 That's reason number 2. Okay. Reason number 3, growth opportunities. So I'm a creative guy, as we have established. I make music. If you didn't know, my longtime listeners of the podcast, all of my super fans here, I do make music. Okay. And I feel as if, and I've heard this sentiment from people who have lived in this area, or even in Michigan in general, and then went to areas with more people and more money, I should say too, because at least in Flint, there's not a whole lot of money that people are putting into their craft. What you find generally with these people who have escaped this area is that there is so much more room to grow. There is so much more room to blossom into your own whatever that might be. Right? Like, let's say you're a producer and you make beats. All right? I go from here and I go over to Austin, Texas. I'm going to have so much easier of a time finding artists to get inside of my studio, people who are serious about their craft. And they're not, one thing you run into here a lot is people who, they're a rapper, but they're a rapper by name only. Like they call themselves a rapper, but they've released one song in the last 3 years. They call themselves a rapper, but they have no clue what their actual aim is when it comes to making music. Like, if you ask them, so what's your goal with making music? They don't know. They don't know what they're trying to do. I feel like one thing you really observe inside of a place like New York, inside of Chicago, LA, is that you see a lot of people who are there for a reason. They are there because they want to explore a certain part of their personality. They want to flourish in a certain way. And they weren't getting that wherever they were. And there's so much more room for growth there. The ceiling is higher for whatever it is you're trying to achieve. I feel like I'm running into a brick wall a lot of the time here. I feel like there's just no way that I'm ever going to break on through to that other side. It's not going to happen here. And maybe it will. I've heard people say, well, with social media, it doesn't really matter where you are because it's all about how you promote yourself, blah, 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 blah. I don't know about that because it is who you know, okay? It's always who you know. It's never not. I know deep in my heart, deep in my soul, okay? Being surrounded by that creative energy, being surrounded by those people with that ambition, that would push me and it would help me recognize myself as the legitimate creator that I am rather than being surrounded by what I feel is a lot of squandered potential. Power to everybody. I really want to see everybody succeed. It's just that I know that my ceiling is not as high as it could be in this location. It's just a fact. There's not enough money and there's not a big fan base. There's not a big group of people who would flock to what I do, especially here. If you are familiar with Flint hip hop, if you're familiar with the type of music that generally thrives in this environment, I ain't it, okay? It's not me. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with the art that I make because it's a representation of me. It's me being myself authentically and that's what comes out. But it doesn't mesh well with the music scene that's currently happening here. And I can see that. I'm being honest with myself about it. Whereas somewhere like Chicago, man, your boy fits right in. Reason number 4, to be a part of something bigger. I think we as humans, every single one of us, we all seek to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. It's inevitable. Life is a question mark. This whole thing is a ponderance of what we're here for. And so if we can fit ourselves into some type of mosaic, if we can make that work, if we can find a puzzle that we are the final piece to drop into that puzzle, it's like we've cracked the code, and I feel like that's part of what draws me to a place like Chicago is while I'm there, I'm looking around and I'm just thinking, man, like I am just a small part of this giant operation. Like that's my role. And it doesn't have to be anything more than that, but that's a perfect spot for me to be filling in. Does that make any sense to any of you guys? Because to me, that is almost like, it's almost like a coming to moment as I say this. Like it really is true that when I'm in a place like that, I just see how I can be just one little peg in that wheel. I don't even know if that's the right term, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's like we are so much greater than ourselves. And you see that right there in front of you. I'm walking down the street and I see thousands of other people. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but you let's say you spend a whole day inside of a city. You probably did see around 1,000 people or more just while you walked around that day. Probably way more. You don't see that here. You don't see that in most places. And to me, not seeing that, you don't get reminded. You don't get humbled by that. And you don't get to feel like there's more than you. It just, you kind of can get caught up in this monotony of like of a pointless conversation that you're having with yourself. Like, oh, well, what am I doing here? What purpose am I trying to fill? If you are never if you're never reminded of the fact that you're not that purposeful. You're not. Like, yeah, sure. Your life matters, and what you do and what you're trying to achieve it's important to you, but in the end, it ain't nothing, man. It don't matter at all, okay? Whether or not you decide to get up and walk out that door and do anything at all, in the grand scheme of things, it's comical. It doesn't matter. And I think that being in an environment like that would allow me to recognize in myself, like, I can do anything I want to do. I'm just a part of this giant thing. Like, it's so much bigger than me. And so if I don't matter, what does it matter if I do what I want to do? And what does it matter if I don't? Like, why would I not do what I want to do if it doesn't matter? You see what I'm saying? Like, some people would be nihilistic about that. They'd be like, oh, well, if it doesn't matter, why would I try at all? But no, it's like, if I fail, it's okay. Nobody cares. So why not try? That's at least how I feel about it. And I think that being a part of something bigger than yourself is incredibly important to anyone for anything. I think that when we get caught up in our own minds, we end up going in circles. We end up saying the same things. And if we're a part of something bigger, if we're part of a group even, just a friend group, you find things out about yourself by being a part of that bigger thing. Reason number 5. To me, that city, that place, it feels like home. I started the podcast by saying that, and I think that what's going on there, at least a little bit, is that, like I said, it's the Midwest. I'm in the Midwest, and that's where I've been my whole life, So while I'm walking around there, sure, it's a big city feel, but it's also, there's something homey about it that I know, that I recognize. But I'm not even sure if that's entirely it, because I've read people say on message threads and different places, like comments on YouTube videos and whatnot, lots of people saying that when they went to the city of Chicago, there was something there calling to them, something there holding its hand out, beckoning with one finger, saying, hey, come here. This is who you really are. This is where you belong. And I think that is that's kind of the feeling I get. And so I don't even know if it has to do with where I'm from necessarily. I think there's just something about being inside of that place that feels like home. It's like I can't even properly describe it. I'm trying my best to put words on top of it. It doesn't feel like a vacation spot to me. It feels like the place that I should be all the time. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, when I go there, it's not like, oh, this is nice for a few days, but I would never want to live here. I feel like that's how Vegas would be. And I've never been to Vegas, but I'm sure that's how Vegas would be. It'd be fun, and it'd be fun to walk around, but I would feel like I'd have to be crazy in order to want to live there. You know what I'm saying? I'd have to be a gambling addict. Like, what would call me to Vegas? Whereas when I'm in Chicago, I'm walking around like, wow, I would love for this to be my street. I would love to walk my dog down this street. I would love for that to be my coffee spot. I would love for this restaurant to be a place I could go once a week, maybe once a month. Maybe I try out a whole bunch of different stuff. There's so much to try. Like I said, I'll never get to the bottom of this barrel. So why would I leave the barrel? Reason number 6. And these next 2 reasons, these final 2 reasons, they're a little wishy-washy. I'm not going to lie. But to me, they encapsulate this conversation I've been having in my head, this reasoning that's been occurring to me. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Now, if we're not going to let our dreams be dreams, and we're just going to do it, like the great Shio once spoke, then what am I doing sitting here talking to this camera, telling you about how I want to move to Chicago? Why am I even wasting my time thinking about it? I am only going to have this dream, this vision right here, right now. And then once I achieve it, it's not a dream anymore. I'm doing it. And it's like, I feel like, in a way, in my mind, I'm idealizing this concept. Like, oh, I'm going to go to Chicago. It's like a pipe dream, It's like, it's just somewhere down the line, but it's never really going to happen. But if I keep saying it, maybe it will. You know what I'm saying? I'm wasting so much time thinking about it. And I have all my excuses, Oh, well, once I have enough money, I'll go. Oh, well, once I accomplish this type of success, then I can go. And it's like, no, none of that is required. As a matter of fact, it would probably be easier to achieve those goals if I wasn't here and I was there. And once I say all of that, once I lay it out like that, it's silly for me to even spend any time at all contemplating. There's nothing to contemplate. I know what my heart is telling me. I know what my soul is telling me. If I'm going to follow my intuition, which in my life has never failed, always follow your intuition, then I should be there right now. Don't let your dreams be dreams, kids. Simple as that. And reason number 7 is great achievement requires great sacrifice. And that goes back to what I just said about excuses, about me rationalizing me staying. Because I'm sitting here thinking, oh, well, I can't because I'm going to lose this. Like, I'm going to lose this perfectly good place that I live in right now. I'm going to lose this perfectly good job that I have right now. Who cares? Those things are required for me to achieve anything more. I have to give these things up. And it's so hard to give these things up. Like, I know that this is working right now. This works. And that's what's kept me here for so long, is that this works. And it's the fallacy of sunk cost. I've invested so much into this. Why would I just let go of it? Because it's required if I want to grow. If I want to move away from this and be something else, I have to give things up. It's not like I can sit here and just have everything. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And I want to think that I can. I want to think that, oh yeah, well, I want to go away, but I want to keep this and I want to keep this and maybe I'll come back and maybe I won't. No. Give it up. Give up what you have and just move forward. You know, forward movement reduces anxiety. That's a fact. And I mean, that's a fact physically, but it's also a fact mentally. You have to move forward. If you want to get rid of whatever those barriers are in your head, you just have to push through, and you'll find that there were just barriers. They're just things that you put up to stop yourself from doing whatever it was you wanted to do. And there's something comfortable about that dance. There's something comfortable about being stuck in my own head and telling myself, you know what? I don't have to do what I want to do, and then choosing to sit at home. There's something comforting about that. But that comfort can quickly become the end of me. It can quickly become the end of anything I would have ever achieved. And I'm familiar with the butterfly effect. I'm familiar with the fact that if I choose to make a change, if I say something to you, if I do anything that requires a thought, there will be another thought that follows that. There will be another action. There will be another reaction to the action, rather. Something will occur because I made that change, because I chose something. And if I don't make that choice, it won't be made for me. If I don't choose to lose what I have, I'll just keep it forever. And there's nothing nice about Oasis. There's nothing nice about having everything you need. Yeah, it sounds like it'd be great, but then once you have it, you just get used to it. And you find this all the time. People who struggle for a long time and then they finally get where they wanted to go. And they realize that they were truly living through the struggle. Once they're on that island that they were waiting to sail to, it's kind of boring. It's kind of a bummer. And so I need to get comfortable with this idea of losing something, this idea of giving it up. And it's just so hard for me. It's so difficult. Like, I'm not exaggerating right now. It's the constant dance, the constant battle that's going on in my head is like, what do we do? Do we give it up? Do we just call it quits and move on? Or do we stay? No, we don't stay. We keep moving. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Okay. So those are my 7 reasons. One of the reasons I wanted to make this podcast, this short little podcast, not a big long one, we're almost done here. One of the reasons I wanted to do this is because I wanted to have this somewhere. So when I do get there, when I do go to Chicago, I can maybe do another one of these where I can reflect and I can say whether or not it was a positive or negative experience. I can tell you guys about where I'm at and how it's feeling and if it is what I expected or if it's not what I expected. And also I wanted to put these down, these thoughts that I'm having. I wanted to put these down somewhere so that I can remember this is where my head was at. Because maybe it'll go completely the other way. Maybe I'll go there and it won't be what I wanted it to be. And I won't fall in love the way I think I will, the way I think I have. And that will open my eyes. And I'll be able to look back at something like this and go, wow, I was way out of my depth. I had no idea what I was talking about. I'm hoping that will not be the case. I'm hoping that my greatest dreams will be confirmed. But, let's be realistic here. Nothing is as it seems. So I don't know, but I do know that great achievement requires great sacrifice. I know that I have to not let my dreams be dreams. I have to see this one out. I have to follow through. That's the only way I'll know. That's the only way I'll realize whether or not that's actually calling me, that's actually something I identify with. Like perhaps I'm just idealizing all of it. Perhaps I'm romanticizing the idea of being somewhere other than where I am. I mean, we do it all the time. The grass is always greener on the other side. But maybe I'm not. Thank you, oh my gosh. My words are going out. I was able to speak clearly the whole time, and as soon as I say goodbye, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you. If you tuned into this one, if you tuned into the solo episode, you're a real one. You're a real fan. You're a real rooster, as we call you around here. You guys are my roosters. You are my chickens. I am Ruse. You are my roosters. Okay? So you are the king of the coop. If you stuck through this whole thing, we love ya. The coop troop. That's what I call you guys. You are in the coop troop. You are my chickens. You are my roosters. If you watch my TikTok lives, you know what I'm saying. All right. I'm done talking your ear off. I just wanted to share. I just wanted to jibber jabber right here on camera, on microphone for a minute. Maybe you got something from it. Maybe you stopped watching 20 minutes ago. Either way, I love you. I love you more than you know. Thank you so much. Ruse Radio, clocking out.